Welcome to Two Crazy Scoops, the weekend coffee break with your hosts Ayo, Antino, and special guest Miguel, Peru. This week we're going to talk about music, musical instruments, drumming, all that fun stuff, so stay tuned and listen to this awesome piano jingling. Aaron doesn't want to listen to it. Sorry, we're going to make him.
No, I'm just trying to remember. Did you make that?
Yeah.
You made that. Okay.
So thanks.
Wow, that's pretty
Appreciating
good.
my
Yeah, it's not that bad. Now that I'm remembering that you made it. I thought it was a generic jingle you found somewhere.
So how you do that is by going into GarageBand, going into live loops, and you can just mix all the loops together. And apparently, since you're using some creativity and adding these loops together,
It's yours.
it's yours. It's kind
No,
of
that makes sense. That makes sense.
But I'm
I
not
appreciate.
actively playing the instruments, so it made it a lot easier. So whenever you listen to these podcasts and they have amazing intros,
Oh, that's what I was saying. I thought you were playing the instruments.
no, yeah. So hate to blow the cover on this one, but I took the lazy way out because apparently, whenever I took the time to record one, it wasn't good enough.
And the table flipped right on my head.
End of episode. Sorry you had to hear that, Miguel.
That's all right.
Like, why are you guys fighting? Oh, man. Well, we're glad that you traveled all the way back to do another episode with us.
Yeah,
I
We
did
wanted,
not live that far.
we wanted to...
it's a different zip code here.
yeah, he like basically lives in nowhere land.
Oh, God.
What was I saying? Yes, so music. We didn't get a chance to talk to you about music. So you, my friend, are a drummer.
I am. That is correct.
I find drummers to be very unique individuals because you need space to practice, and people have to allow you to practice around them.
Yeah.
So how did that work out when you were like learning to play?
Very badly. Yeah. It all began, I think, when I was a little boy, and I think I remember my earliest memory was my mom bringing out pots and pans and little cans of vegetables, and I would just kind of, pound on those for a little bit, and they would play music, and I would just mimic, the drummer, pretend I was, doing what he was doing, and that kind of sort of began a love for music at that age, and eventually I joined band in 5th grade, and then I went on to jazz band and concert band. I did a little bit of marching band, and it just completely, the music thing consumed my life so much in the early grade school years, and the drums, I don't know, I guess I like, a lot of people say it comes naturally, you're either born with it or not, but I like to think that it was a learned skill for me. Maybe I had a natural inclination, but I think I still had to grow to do it.
Yeah.
To do it correctly. I don't know if you would agree with that with other instruments, and I can only really speak to percussion because that was really the only arena I played in.
Yeah.
I didn't really dabble in any other instrument. I appreciated, obviously, music in general, so obviously I appreciated what other musicians were doing in the band at that time, but I think I was always very partial to drums and stuff like that, so...
Yeah, I think what you're saying, I've heard that a lot too. Either you have it or you don't. But I used to believe I didn't have it, and I probably still don't. But I've practiced a lot, and I've gotten some beats down. Most of them I've created myself. Whenever I go into trying to learn a new beat, it's always very difficult. What do you think the mindset is that you go into? Because I think if you're playing guitar, you're kind of mimicking the style somewhat of the way someone's playing.
Yeah, a lot of it's more just imitation. I mean, I didn't really go into musical notations quite a bit. I think it all began with just hearing something and trying to mimic it, trying to imitate it. And so I really just learned music based off my ear, to begin with, what I listened to.
Wait just 1 second.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I think Aaron's neighbors are fighting in the background.
Yeah, I hear that. It's drama.
Drama. You know what? Let's go film that. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Sorry for the break, folks. Anyway, so music.
Yeah.
Is there a certain musician, I mean, a drummer that you really like? I know, like John Bonham, Neil Peart.
Yeah, those are definitely on my list of top drummers.
What about Keith Moon?
Keith Moon, oh my gosh, yes, definitely. He's up there. And I can't remember the name of the drummer for Smashing Pumpkins, but yeah, they were just outstanding. I mean, these drummers did things with the drums that sounded like nowadays, if you were to listen to that music, you'd think, oh, they must have so much effects or so many drum pedals and stuff like that. But they were working with very bare bones at that moment. So, it was really incredible what they were able to accomplish with their drumming at that time. Even all the way back to like Keith Moon or, John Bonham. And obviously, some of them had a lot more drums.
A lot more drums
to work with, but even some of the best ones were able to do a lot with.
I saw this meme. It's not funny that he died, but Neil Peart did die recently. I saw this meme that said that they're donating each of his drums to a musical school in all the provinces in Canada.
Oh, wow.
So that's how many drums he had.
That's funny. That's pretty clever.
Yeah, because have you ever seen like the band Rush play live? Mm-mm. The guy has a drum set. He's on a swivel chair, and he basically can go all around him. He's got chimes. He's got drums. He's got electronic drums. He's got cymbals. He's got little like tiny cymbals. Yeah. It's crazy.
It's pretty.
Does he have bells too?
Probably. I think he's got everything.
Yeah, it's all the bells and whistles, as they would say.
I think today they're still discovering things he had in that set.
That he lost over time.
Yeah. He may have even like fabricated things that nobody even knew about.
So what kind of a drummer would you say you are? Because let's go from Neil Peart to Keith Moon. I know Keith Moon can be described as a very sloppy drum player, whereas Neil Peart is extremely precise.
Yeah. I kind of try to dance in different areas of drumming. I tried to learn a little bit of everything. I did some jazz, and I did a lot of rock, and I didn't really have a favorite. I just knew if I liked something, it was obvious because I was trying to imitate it. I didn't really gravitate towards one style or another. As to what kind of drummer I was, I don't know. I don't know if I really ever focused on one at a time. I just was all over the place.
Yeah. I think I kind of feel the same way with like guitar playing. There's some people that you like to imitate their sound, but you still kind of make it your own in the end.
Yeah.
I think that's the cool thing about music.
Yeah. And really art in general is like that. You kind of combine what you like from each genre or whatever.
So something I don't think a lot of people know about because I don't even know how to do it still. I didn't know you had to until someone played my drum set and was like, dude, this is out of tune. I was like, you have to tune drums? Yeah, what do you think those knobs are for? I was like, decoration?
Yeah. You actually have to tune the drums in order for them to be efficient, and they have to sound a certain way. Obviously, you could tune them just like any other instrument to sound the way you like, but a lot of it has to do with just making sure that they're tight enough so that the humidity doesn't warp them. You know a little bit about that because of guitar. It's kind of the same way.
Yeah. But now I think about it. I think a long time ago, when we were over at a friend's house, I brought the drums outside and it was raining.
Yeah, that affects it surprisingly. Yeah. There's a lot of science to it that I don't understand. It's beyond me. But
does it? Do you tune it to a note? Is it kind of like that, or
you can? But a lot of it depends on what you like, what you prefer, because in the decades ago, in the past, if you were to listen to music from like the 60s and 70s and anything before that, drumming had a lot of echoing, and then there was this idea of gated reverb or reverberation. So, the idea of hitting a drum and the sound echoes, but it comes back. They tried to eliminate that in the 80s. So it all kind of began with like Phil Collins, Yeah, so some person developed this machine basically to eliminate that sound from traveling back to the listener. They wanted a drum to sound like it was, being, stomped but stopped at the same time. So it got louder, but it also stopped right at the peak so that it never came back to you. They like that sound,
okay.
So that's why if you listen to a lot of music in the 80s, it has what they call gated reverb. used a machine. They created a whole machine to create that effect. Obviously, today you could just tap a button on some software.
Yeah,
but
back then.
But back then, they had this idea like, well, we want our drums not to echo like the big band jazz drums did, and a lot of drums
never
from the
thought about that.
70s. You know, they would echo a lot. If you listen to like a lot of Zeppelin, or you notice when John Bonham drums, there's a lot of echoing.
Oh, what's that? When the levee breaks?
Yeah,
I was watching a documentary about that, and they put microphones all the way up a staircase and recorded him playing it. But another thing is there's a song, Since I've Been Loving You, and you can hear his pedal squeak, and it annoys me so much.
yeah.
And you hear, every time he goes down, it's the bass.
And a lot of people love that because it's so authentic. I mean, but some people didn't like that you can pick up on that stuff in the sound in the recording studio. So they came up with gated reverb to eliminate that. You stop all that extra sound, and you just get the peak of what the drummer's trying to do, and so the drums sound different.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't know anything about that.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. You should research it. There's a lot more to it than that, a lot more science to it, but that's the basic gist of it, that drumming has really kind of evolved through the years in terms of the sound you get. Some people like, the past and where the drums echoed a lot. It all depends on the style that you're working with, and if you prefer a real coarse drum, then you go for that effect. So, it all depends.
Yeah, and then you have a lot of, like, as you get into the 90s, like bands like Metallica and stuff, you started getting real heavy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I like some of that, but I think growing up at the time I did was the worst time to ever grow up with someone who played drums, because all the kids were into, like, heavy metal stuff or screamo stuff, and it was all double bass.
Yeah.
And they were like, dude, check this out. And you're like,
Yeah.
that's cool, I guess, but it's not music.
Exactly. They think that if they have an extra drum, then obviously they're a lot cooler, more talented.
Yeah.
The best drummers had very little to work with. A lot of jazz drummers worked with very little, just a snare, a bass, and maybe a cymbal, maybe, 2 cymbals, but that was it, because if you work with less, you're forced to be more creative. Kind of like in film, the less you have, the more you have to work to achieve your art, and it reflects really well.
And I think that kind of accomplishment comes off in the people who are listening too. You feel fulfilled.
Yes.
Because you know that there was a lot of work that was put into it.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's why I hate metal. It's just garbage.
That's one style I just never got around to. I mean, there might have been certain bands that maybe made one song that I kind of liked, but most of them don't have any melody. It's just noise. So, how could you really, tap your foot?
You don't tap your foot, you throw people in the walls.
Yeah,
That's
basically
how you best enjoy that.
Pretty much.
You have to grow your hair out pretty long, though.
Yeah.
Then you start throwing people in the walls.
That's it.
You got to wear like these funny wristbands.
Yeah, I know.
You're got a long ways to go until you can fully appreciate that.
That's true. Yeah, maybe I just don't understand it.
Yeah, you don't get it, man.
They're just at another level. I haven't achieved that yet.
Yeah. So there is a place for double bass, but not in a beginner's, I would say.
Yeah, and I think John Bonham worked with double bass too, but he knew how to do it skillfully, in a way that made it sound, natural. There's
a song where he plays like a 10-minute, just him live. Yeah. And it was just crazy. He throws his sticks and he's just playing with his hands too.
Yeah. Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah. Santana's drummer is also another drummer I really liked. I know he's had a couple over the years, but the one he had during Woodstock was just incredible. The thing that kid did. He was super young too, but he had a solo, and I mean, Soul Sacrifice.
Soul Sacrifice. Yeah, it's a funny name for a song. Yeah. I was playing it in the car. My mother-in-law's like, "Oh, cool. What song's this?" It's Soul Sacrifice.
Yeah. I know. The names are questionable, but the things he did with those drums, man, you could see it on film, and it's incredible. I mean, you're seeing smoke, rising from the drums just because of what he was doing.
Smoking? Oh.
No, it was from the sticks. He was losing, shards of wood and.
Yeah, that's really cool because it starts off with the and then the drums go in with, what is it?
Congos or congas?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And then the drums start mimicking that.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
It's got a cool like rise and then a fall, but then like ends. And
he kind of echoed a lot of like the jazz rhythm and methods that a lot of jazz drummers do. They focus on a little bit, and they become territorial in that they start working with other drums, but they can manage in just one area for a little bit and then move to another.
So I see you holding your hand in a different way, because I know that jazz, you can do like closed fist, holding it like that.
Yeah.
While balancing it on your, what is it, your pointer finger? Is that what you're supposed to do?
Yeah. Well, usually it's just holding it with the thumb and the index finger on both hands.
And then the jazz kind of tilts their wrist.
I don't really know how that started, but it seems to work more easily with jazz drumming. If you want to do certain things, it's just easier to bend your wrist like that and just to kind of,
So are you really hitting the drums like hard, or are you?
And no, that's the thing. That's where it comes through. What kind of style you're using, because the jazz drumming shouldn't really be that hard and coarse. It should really complement what the other musicians are doing, but not be so overpowering. And part of bending your wrist like that is you're able to control the intensity of the drumming so that it's not so loud. But you could do more. You could be more. You could be aggressive, but you don't really want to in jazz drumming. You just kind of.
Have you heard this song "Freedom Jazz Dance" by the Miles Davis Quintet?
No, I don't think I have.
The drumming in that always gets me every time, because it's like you try to. There's songs you can mimic. You can be like, doom, 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 doom. But these jazz ones, man, you're like, what are you doing? Like,
yeah, it's incredible. Jazz drumming is probably one of the most difficult styles of drumming there is. It's just they're working on a whole completely other level, and then you get guys like Dave Brubeck that come in and want to do a different time signature style. And
so Take 5 is probably a very popular song that you never knew the name of or who did it. But it's... Do you know that song, Aaron?
No.
Oh, man, come on.
And it's probably,
Or maybe you're just doing a bad imitation of it.
That's what I was going to say. You've probably heard of it before. It's probably more well known. You just didn't know it was called that. But that's a very fascinating style of music. He completely changed what jazz
Since
was
we're
all
not that
about.
popular yet, I'm pretty sure we can just play whatever we want.
Yeah, that would actually be helpful since we're going to talk about it. And that way there's some context.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. You know what it is.
Yeah.
We were right.
Wait, here's the hook.
So, yeah. It's a very different style. I don't know if...
Welcome to Two Crazy Scoops Podcast with your host.
That's our new
And
intro.
copyright strike.
Copyright. Like, oh no, they're banging on the door. How dare you use that song that everyone recognizes but doesn't know the name to?
Yeah,
Dude, that's a 15-minute, that's
Yeah.
like a coffee break episode right there.
Just listening to that song?
No.
The whole way through?
No. I meant songs that everyone recognizes that you don't know the name to,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
which that's one of them because I had no idea.
I think movies have really introduced a lot of people to classical music, jazz, that you really like, but you never look it up because you Take 5,
Yeah.
or this song in the key of E.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the timing signature on that song, it's 5/4 as opposed to 4/4. So you usually think of your typical song being in 4/4.
Can you show us a beat of 4/4? Is that
So
hard?
it's just literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4.
And then what's 5/4?
So it's basically 5 beats per measure instead of 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you kind of add an extra beat into that same measure. You squeeze it in there. So there's 5 beats instead of 4. And that was really challenging for Dave Brubeck to bring to the studio, the recording studio. The record label was actually kind of hesitant about that, not just because of his other ideas, because that album actually was one of the first jazz albums to have art as the cover instead of a photo of the band.
Oh, wow.
He wanted a painting, so he had this painter draw up something and paint it for him so that it could be the cover. So he brings that, and then he brings, oh, by the way, I'm going to do jazz a little bit differently by having this 5/4 method, and so they were a little bit hesitant, but he sold them. He was able to go through with it, and it caught on too, because I think you've probably heard that same time signature in other songs before, like the Mission Impossible theme.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's,
You want me to sing that one for you too?
I know that one.
yeah. And Lalo Schifrin put in a lot of work into that song too, into that theme, because he kind of tied it into Morse code, so that dun 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 dun, that's actually Morse code for MI. He's doing the little beats.
Huh.
Oh, I didn't know.
It's actually 2 dashes and 2 dots.
You know YYZ is like that too.
Is it really?
By Rush. But
Yeah.
MI means Mission Impossible. YYZ is just like the postal code to the airport or something. Like, I forget. Anyways, in Canada.
Yeah. It's pretty interesting. The different time signatures, you kind of see it. It comes up a lot. I think Pink Floyd's Money is 7/4.
Doom, 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 doom. Boom, 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 boom.
Oh,
doom, doom, doom.
okay.
Boom,
So you
boom,
see
boom,
how,
boom, boom.
Yeah.
it kind of it stretches more. They're adding more beats to each measure, and so that can be a little complicated, and so it's difficult to play to play along to if you're not used to it. We're all used to it. We just have ingrained in our minds the 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. But when you start adding more in those measures, it can kind of mess with your mind a little bit as a musician. I don't know if it makes sense to anybody else what's happening.
I think just listening to it, you wouldn't really tell the difference.
Yeah.
But when you go as a kid and you're like trying to play all these popular rock songs and you come across Money and you're like, okay, guys, let's all try to play this together. And your friend's learning drums and he's still going on 4/4.
Yeah.
And you're like, dude, this doesn't match up.
Exactly. Yeah, it's confusing at first, and it's kind of mind-boggling because you're not used to it. I don't know why we're all just so focused on the 1 2 3 4, because it's the most conventional style.
Yeah, you see, that's what I always think is interesting about music too, is you go into different cultures and areas and it's so simple for them what they play.
Yeah.
And yet for us, when we try to even just step a foot into it, it's just like complicated. I've been trying to learn bossa nova guitar and just simple stuff.
Yeah.
No, it's not that simple.
No.
Chord changes, all kinds of stuff, even the drum beats itself.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because you kind of got like this marching on the guitar part goes dun, 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 dun. And in between that, you're playing different melody notes.
Yeah.
And with the drums, it's the same. Just
it's.
I
I like bossa nova. That's I haven't heard too many songs in that style, but I do like it. It's pretty catchy. It's very different.
So I'm just gonna play you Freedom Jazz Dance real quick while they're here.
Yeah, go ahead.
People know what we're talking about, and then we're gonna have to stop, so Aaron doesn't kill us. I love vilifying Aaron. It is one of the greatest things in life, next to podcasting. Well, this one's explicit, even though it's a jazz song.
Oh, what difference does it make?
I'm pretty sure this is it. I don't know why it would be explicit. But maybe it's a live version.
Yeah.
That's
Let me see. But yeah, so that's like just a little part of it.
I like it.
It just feels like so like fast and yet chill at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's relaxing, but at the same time, you feel like you need to get up and move.
Yeah, it's like moving in some direction.
Yeah.
And that's why I like jazz so much, is because it does lend itself to creating art, because it's so, you see colors and shapes and, well, I don't know.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's the way it is. Jazz has always been like that. It's very different than...
That's why when you see a lot of those like original Pixar stuff, like the short films they make, always got jazz in it, because it's expressing little things.
Exactly. Yeah. I've always enjoyed that style. It's a very interesting playground.
Yeah. Well, I think Aaron's roof's going to cave in.
Possibly.
Well, folks, goodbye. Remember us, Little did you know this would be the last thing you'd ever do, Miguel.
Yeah. Those are my last words.
I have noisy neighbors.
Yeah, sorry. Well, thanks for coming on the podcast with us.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Is this your first or second? I mean, this is your second podcast, but is this your first time podcasting?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it is. I've always wanted to.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. I'd give here. Just go. You can go take a roll of toilet paper from Aaron's bathroom.
All right. Actually, I already swiped one.
Oh, you already. There you go. I was like, "What's that bulge coming out of his back
Did you
pocket?"
notice I've been sitting higher?
Yeah, he's sitting on it. Oh man. Okay. Well, I have no words to say. Just goodbye, everybody. Oh man, here's the best. Good. Thank you for listening to Crazy Scoots Podcast, the weekend coffee break, with your hosts Ao and Tino, and our special guest Miguel Peru. Stay tuned next time. Hopefully, we'll have another guest. We'll see who it is. It could be you. It could be you. We're out to get you. Oh, right here. Right. This is what I live for.